Welcome, everybody, to another episode of DiscipleLife, the podcast. I'm Joan Jacobi, your Disciple Life coach. And so today I want to talk about understanding your God-given calling, your purpose and passion. So let's get into it. A calling is really rooted deeply in purpose and passion, having intrinsic motivation and a sense of purpose. So it can be different than a career or a hobby, something that we like to do, but is not necessarily wrapped up in our calling. A calling is different from a career or a hobby because in our calling, we will get an idea, an intrinsic motivation that will be an indicator whether that career or hobby actually can be a calling. There's a transformative power when we live in alignment with our calling. Really means that we need to identify our passions, because in our passions, what the Lord has given us a passion for, we can find many times that our calling is wrapped up somewhere in our passion. So how do we do that? So what we do is we start by reflecting on our activities, those activities that we do that bring us joy and fulfillment. So whether that is being in a sport or playing music or working with kids or working in ministry, whatever that is, as we reflect on those things, those can be clues and indicators to what God has in our lives as a calling. And then we should also explore our values and what truly matters to us, because those things that truly matter to us really are an idea of the calling and the purpose that God may have put in our life. And so exploring those things along with journaling and reflection exercises can help us be able to define more clearly what our calling is. And so things like a passion journal, right? Journal on those things that give you passion. What are you feeling? What are you sensing when you're doing those things that you're passionate about and that give you joy and fulfillment? As you do those things, you will find more and more that those are indicators in terms of what your possible calling is. And so when you identify your passions, right, you want to also acknowledge your inherent skills and talents and abilities. Many times our calling is wrapped up in that. God will give us skills and talents and abilities that will work with our passion, that can be indicators of what our calling actually is. And then we can also use self-assessment tools and feedback from others. So people like our parents or our siblings, schoolmates, teachers, coaches, people that know us can speak into our lives and help us to more clearly define what our calling is, because many times we can't see what our calling is. These people know us and see us, and they can help us really define what our calling can be, because they can let us know what they see in us that is hard for us to see in ourselves. And then what we want to do is we want to recognize our own unique contributions and our potential impact. What contributions do we have that can contribute to other people's lives, that can contribute to impacting the world? Those unique contributions, whether again it's working with kids or it's working in the arts or working in the medical field. I've known many people that have gone into the medical field and been doctors and lawyers and been very successful, but later on in life they have taken that, and it's actually been their calling and their passion to help others and make impact in other people's lives, and really by that also being hands and feet of Jesus and spreading the gospel. And so one of the other things that we want to do is to overcome barriers by taking action. And the first thing we want to do is identify limiting beliefs. You know, many times we can get into situations where we feel like the Lord may be calling us into something or calling us into a place, and then we say different things like, what makes you think that you could do that? Or, you're not skilled enough, or you don't have what it takes. And many times the enemy can use that. But, many times the self-doubt really isn't even from the enemy. It's from ourselves. Maybe, past wounds or traumas or people saying, what makes you think you can do that? And so that self-doubt holds us back. And so we have to be really aware of that and really being able to come against that. If we know that, if we have an idea that God is calling us in a direction, that we really have to be able to come against that and really be able to come against it with God's word, and to know that whatever God has called us to, he will give us the ability to do that. And then what we want to do then is develop plans of actions. Start with small steps heading us in that direction. Are there courses that we need to take? Are there people that we need to, get around? We need to create small, achievable steps that will move us in a direction of the calling that God has for us. And so being able to have an action plan and having metrics with that, as we take those steps, being able to look back and to see that we are moving in a direction that the Lord is calling us to, and we're moving in the way and the plans and purposes that he has for us. And then the other thing we need to do is to build a supportive network around us. We need coaches and mentors, pastors, family church members to come around us to help us seek guidance and to help us to stay strong as we're moving in the calling, and to get mentors that are in the places that we want to move in. So if we are wanting to work in the marketplace as a Christian entrepreneur or a business person in the marketplace, let's try to find those people to come around and have as mentors. They will give us not only the guidance that we need, but they'll also give us the encouragement that we need to move ahead in the calling that God is calling us into. And then the other thing is we need to embrace the idea that we're going to run into places that we're not aware of. We're going to run into uncertainty, and we're going to run into the unknown. In this life, we always will run into those things, but to understand that we will run into those things and to be prepared. Be prepared in our heart and our mind, making sure that we're staying in the word, staying close in the spirit, and just being prepared for when those times come, that we will have the attitude that we will continue to move through. And the other thing is that we will never stop learning and growing and adapting and evolving, right? Life has many twists and turns that, again, as we talked about, are uncertain and unknown. But if we go into it knowing that we will face those things, and knowing, though, that what God gives us as a calling, He's going to equip us to achieve, then that will help us as we continue to grow and to learn, as the Lord is using that to also grow us spiritually, and He's growing us in maturity. And finally, every day in this walk, that we find meaning and fulfillment in that daily walk. Anything that we go after, any calling, we're going to have hills and valleys. We're going to have times of joy and times of uncertainty and pain, but finding fulfillment, knowing that we are walking in the calling that God has for us, and that He is supplying what we need, that we will get fulfillment from that, even when we find ourselves in difficult and tough times. So I hope that this will help you in discovering your own calling and walking that out with passion and purpose. So if you like this video, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.